So as y'all can see, it's one of the rare days that we gonna record the video while there's daylight outside. Looking real nice. It's about 5:30. Your boys on no sleep, but honestly, I feel like I work better sometimes when I just don't sleep. Sometimes I need a couple days where I can just fucking grind. And coming off of yesterday's ideas, today I decided to work on building the front end interfaces for what's going to be used to interact with the contracts from a user basis. So essentially, what I'm saying is the everyday person who wants to mint an NFT, well, I'm working on building the websites, the place that they go to click the button to pay for the NFT to get minted. So trying to integrate some charisma into the presentation, obviously, but I'm going to walk you guys through the process that I went through for learning how to set up the front end interface. This is going to be part one as well, given ChatGPT, again, is going to be my assistant. And again, I am limited on the number of prompts, but we did get to a pretty good place to leave off for today. So without further ado, let's dive into it. As y'all can see, I got to wait till 9:22, and there's a good chance we're going to be tapped by then, given we were running on no sleep. But essentially, I had asked ChatGPT a little bit about the front end interface on our Solidity Mastery Guide. But I decided, for organizational purposes, I would like to keep this chat being something that we use just for Solidity and building smart contracts. And then we'll use this chat here for working on the front end interfaces that will interact with the contracts. So up at the top, I kind of let it know just like setting the tone basically, as far as what I'm trying to do. The cool thing is too, is with ChatGPT is like all the different chats that you have in your account, it can read and interact with all these chats. So you don't have to have everything just be in one chat. Keep things organized. That's what I'm doing. Okay, I ain't gonna tell y'all to do it. None of the shit that I would not do myself. So again, we've got the front end interface. This is going to be the chat we use to learn the process. After setting the tone as far as what I was going to use the chat for, I gave it further context. Again, I like being detailed with ChatGPT. I feel like it's worked well for me so far. So I kind of just typed out what I was planning on doing. So I was wanting to build a front end that could interact with the fund distributing contract that we had been working on, which is what I titled Microgreens Fund V11. So this is going to interact directly with V11. And then I gave it an insight as to what I'm using this for. So my thought process and my strategy going into next year is I want to put as many assets on the blockchain as possible. I have a business model that I need a large volume of these NFTs to be already on the blockchain for what I would look to do next. But if I can get 10 mil plus worth in assets on the blockchain, I only need about 10% of them for what I'm actually looking to do, which should create a very sustainable model of revenue. But yes, I am being specifically vague. I'm going to leave it for intrigue. So, the day ones, y'all will see where this vision is going in due time. But anyways, I gave it the context. And then I let it know some of the ideas I had as far as what I wanted to do. Obviously, I wanted to be able to mint the contract. I would rather not have people have to go through some janky looking front end like what we've been working with on Remix. And honestly, Remix has been great. But I want something that is aesthetically pleasing, given, due to the way that NFT projects have been run, visual aesthetics are, a factor that people pay attention to. Plus, I also like just, good looking stuff. So I let it know I want it to be able to allow people to mint directly from the site, as well as some of the other features that I had in mind, potentially having the option to show how many or how much funds have been distributed by the contract. And given this is going to be the contracts we start using for people looking to pool money for properties, I would also be able to have the equity on display potentially for some of these front-end interfaces. Now, obviously, this is going to vary client to client, but we should have a base as far as what we're offering, given we're going to have to educate a lot of people anyways. People aren't going to know what they want, so we got to give them what they want. Apple doesn't come out with a bunch of new features and say, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? No, they tell you, when you get the phone, you're getting this, that, and the other, and this is why it's better than anything you've ever had before. So essentially, that's kind of the framework. I just gave it a whole lot of detail as far as what it's going to be used for and the features that I wanted. And then afterwards, ChatGPT got to work. So it gave us a walkthrough approach on what we're going to do as far as mastering Solidity. So obviously, we're going to start with working on the core features, which is the two that I have mentioned. The framework of choice is going to be what we're using to actually set up our front-end interface. It recommended React, given I suppose this is just a very common, oh my God, got some indigestion. But yeah, React is one of the ones that has been most commonly used for a lot of different projects. And then next.js, what was this? It's also an option. I don't think we use this one. I'm pretty sure we just use React, which is what we got set up here. But then it also has us down here take a look at what we're going to use for our front-end interaction. So ether.js, I believe, is what we'd use to connect the front end to the Ethereum. So this is the front end, React's our front end, and then ethereum.js is pretty much the bridge between this and the Ethereum blockchain. So this is so far what we've got, and then steps to mastery. I'm a hands-on learner. I think if anybody is a hands-on learner, ChatGPT is like your best friend. This will teach you how to do everything step by step. And you don't need to understand all of it off rip. You'll learn as you go. It's pretty much like going to, imagine you were trying to learn Spanish, and then you just got dropped off in the middle of Spain. Automatically, you're going to have to learn Spanish pretty quick so that you can have for food, water, bathroom, job, all the basic shit that you need to learn. So again, it's very submersive, and that's what I like. Personally, I can learn a lot faster if I'm doing things and asking questions along the way. So that's kind of how I prompted ChatGPT to teach me. So we're going to setting up the development environment with React first, which we had done, and then we had learned how to connect it basically to the ether.js. I'm just going to walk you guys through this instead of reading. So basically, it outlined how we're going to proceed. So it gave us the basic steps. I'm just like, let's do it. Walk me through. So the first step that it has us do is install node.js. So it gave us the link. We pretty much just go here, install. And when you install it, at least from my experience, I didn't see anything immediately pop up. So the way it had us verify is confirming it through the terminal. Now, I didn't know what a terminal was, so I had asked ChatGPT for clarification. But essentially, what a terminal is it's a way that you can communicate directly with your computer. So the way to access it, I believe, is just pressing Control T. I want to make sure I'm telling. Oh wait, no, I told you guys wrong. It's Command Space. So the Command button, which is right next to the space bar, you just press those at the same time, and then the terminal will pop up. I believe it just popped up blank. There might have been like a couple things in there, but it's irrelevant. It'll pop up, and then essentially to double check that it's installed, you're gonna copy and paste this. So first the node -v. I did this one at a time. Maybe you can do this both at the same time. But essentially the way it walked me through is it had me copy and paste these. And then it did also provide an explanation because again, I'm learning along the way. So it told me what the versions were, which was great. So then we were able to proceed on to the next step, which was setting up the NFT front end. So I believe the way that it had us do this, it had us set this up in a specific folder. I'm just going to walk you guys through essentially the outline that it took me through. So we got the versions. Next, it has us create a React application. So this is what we have here. And so essentially what we did was we had the folder created under, I created a blank folder. I had it titled like tests front end V1. Yep. So in front end V1, that's pretty much what I had, desktop front end V1. And then once I had it directed towards that folder, I copy and pasted the code that it gave me here. And this was to create the new React app. So we copy and pasted this. This took us to the folder. And then once we were set up on the terminal with our information, I think it just looked like this once we had copy and pasted this. Yeah, it did. So we copy and pasted the npm start after making sure that we had loaded into our project folder, and it directed me to a Chrome page. Apparently it's supposed to automatically open, but for me it didn't. So I just copy and pasted the HTTP. You guys can read it. We copy and pasted this, and it loaded up for us the way that it was supposed to, which pretty much just read this. We've already edited this to go on to the next step, which is why it looks a little different than initially, but it should say the edit, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you guys can read. So after selecting the folder to store my project, I ran the command, yada, yada, yada. This was a whole lot of information that spat at me, but it pretty much just told me what this meant. And again, this is why it's super, super useful. All this words that, otherwise would take me a while to read through on the internet to understand, it just gives me the explanation here. So it lets me know the warnings aren't uncommon, and it's just letting me know about some underlying stuff, but it tells me it won't prevent the project from working properly. So that's good. That's what's important. The message about the Git version related to Git is pretty much just telling us that a lot of these errors, it's letting us know, like, we're not going to like destroy our computer by running this. But the next step, so again, it has us navigate to the front end and the NP start. So I think that's where we got to here, which is caught up here. So yeah, after loading this up successfully, we saw that everything ran proper. And then we were able to get this running and loading here by copy and pasting this right here. So the next thing it had us do was install the ether.js. So we had gone back to here and we had pasted that here. And so after we had gotten the ether.js, it had prompted us to open up the project folder in the code editor that we were going to use. It suggested VS Code, given I had zero coding experience. I didn't have anything downloaded. So it walked me through the process of loading up the VS Code, but essentially we'll just scroll down here, given these were the steps that it walks us through from A to Z to getting things running and loading. So let me see what I got here. So I just copy and pasted and nothing happened. Oh, I see. This was when I had tried doing the npm install and it didn't do anything initially. So I let ChatGPT know that, and it just helped us troubleshoot. So initially when I tried the Control C, I just got this sound whenever I tried doing it on my computer. So I let it know. I'd asked if there was another way to stop the server, and then it gave me another option, which was the command plus the period button. And I'm pretty sure that didn't work either. So I'm pretty sure I ended up just going through the process of opening a new terminal, and then it directed me to the NFT frontend, npm install ether, which I think this is, yeah, looks like the install of ether.js was successful. So yeah, that did successfully solve it for us. We had just opened up another tab and got that running. I think that's the same thing here, right? No, it's a little different. It's a little different. I got this after something else. I'm sure we'll find it as we go along. Again, I'm still learning this, so sorry if I'm not the greatest teacher, but given I literally have zero experience, and this is a documentational YouTube, you guys are feeling the same confusion that I was. And that's kind of the point, It's not something that you're just going to instantly start looking at and completely understand. But again, it's immersive. So if you guys are going through this process, you will learn quickly. So once it is installed, you can return to the original terminal window and restart the server if needed. So let's see. We've copy and pasted the message that we were looking at. Great. Looks like the installation was successful. Told us we could ignore the vulnerability warnings for now. They don't affect the immediate work. So again, we had gotten our React front end back up. I think that's what this is. Start the development server again. Pretty sure. And then we connect the front end with the smart contracts. It's so weird because like as I'm reading through this, after having already gone through it, it kind of like it skips a lot of steps. You have to clarify, okay, like walk me through this specific step. But yeah, essentially we got it back open, we copy and pasted, and then we had seen the original message from the front end. So lets us know we're back on track, and then it helps us set up the ether.js in the project. So it prompts us to go through the code editor, which I think at this point I didn't know how to do. So yeah, I let it know that I was confused at step 1, and then it walks us through the process of getting everything set up. So it prompted us to set up the VS Code. So we clicked the button, and initially the first thing that it had taken us to, I think, was this page right here. And we had attempted to download it, but the problem that we ran into was my computer is kind of old. I got this computer, I got this computer in 2019, actually. I think it was before February, but regardless, I've had this computer for quite some time. And so the current version, the latest version of the Visual Studio Code wasn't compatible. So I'd actually had to go back and grab the version from November of 2023, which it had walked us through after I'd let it know that, again, after I got the message that the code was not compatible. And again, it walked us through the process of how to find it. So essentially, I just gone in here. I had clicked the button up here, the Apple, about this Mac, and then it told me that it was the Mac OS Mojob. So I just pretty much typed Mojob up here. This was the version that it directed me to. And then I had proceeded to download the Mac Intel version, given that is what I'd seen multiple times on this level, on this tab. I think that's what it'd be called, right? So anyways, after I'd gotten everything downloaded successfully, it had let me open it. And then we had pretty much just gone through the process of setting up the code editor. So we'd gone through to the Explorer, we had selected the NFT frontend, and we opened up the file, and then we see all these different items that were downloaded when we had initially gone through the first steps on the terminal. Now, this code right here is what I pasted from ChatGPT. It actually looks a little bit different when you first initially open it up, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So it had pretty much just walked us through again. We opened up the front end, NFT front end, clicked open, and then we had grabbed the app.js, which is right here, and then it just loaded that up for us nicely on the side. So once we had opened it on the main editor, we'd gone through and proceeded to edit the code based on what it had given us up here. This just gave us like an explanation as far as some of these different pieces of code. So again, it pretty much tells us about the code. That way we can learn as we were going along. But once we had saved the changes to the app.js, when we had navigated back to our initial hosting site, we had seen that it had changed to say, welcome to the NFT minting app, and then it prompted us to connect the wallet below. So once we had seen everything was good on this end, I had proceeded to set up a MetaMask wallet that I could use to link to my account, which you need to do that with working in Chrome anyways. It's very easy to do too. You just type in MetaMask, you'll download the extension, and then it'll prompt you to either add a wallet or create it. We ended up creating it just so it's not interacting with the other wallets that I have some NFTs in. So old NFTs from the first wave, actually just one, I believe, on one account. But again, I bought the NFT to just get some skin in the game. So anywho, we had created the wallet. Let me see if I can actually find where we had gone from here. So pretty much it was just smooth sailing from there. After I had set up the extension, I pressed connect wallet. It prompted me to confirm it with MetaMask. And then from there, we'd seen that it had successfully connected the wallets. So voila, we've got everything set up to proceed to the next steps. So that's pretty much where we had left off. Again, I ran out of my responses. So we do have to wait a little bit for it to reset, but this does allow us to now work on the next steps. So the next thing it lets us know we're going to be working on is integrating the functionality that we were looking to put onto the front end. So like I mentioned, minting the NFTs, as well as displaying the amount of funds distributed by the contract. So on part 2, we will be going along with ChatGPT as it walks us through the process. And yes, I know this is a bit bland, but again, we're learning the basics and we will build on more complex concepts as we go along and master the essentials of the basic process. So we've got the ball rolling as far as setting up the front end interfaces. So today we're pretty much able to set up the environment that we can use to be able to edit and adjust the code that's going to influence how our front end interface interacts. So it's a good place to leave off for today. I would have liked to have a little bit more progress because honestly, like what I've learned is speed is key. The faster you're moving, the more momentum you can generate. And speed's just important. I mean, I feel like I've taken a little bit too long even just getting all this stuff going with having the basic product in line. Yes, we have the code, but it took us 2 weeks when if we had really sat down with ChatGPT, no limits. Yes, we'd have to pay $40, but it's honestly worth it. We could have probably done it a lot faster. So I'm going to just see how fast we can power through this. It was honestly kind of fun working on today anyways. So we've got the first step set up. We'll be coming back to work with ChatGPT on part 2 tomorrow, and we will just be going from there. So without being too repetitive, I think we'll call it a day from there. So with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.